Hello, buddy. Welcome back to Tin Man's Court Channel. I'm your host, Jeff for Tin Man Taylor, and today I'm going to be reacting to some more scary storyteller videos for you guys. And the first scary storyteller that I'm reacting to today is Unfold Diaries. And the video is titled Three True Creepy Neighbor Horror Stories. Now, to let you guys know, I already skimmed through it a little bit. I figured three of the stories are going to be neighbor related, but he's got three more stories on this video as well. So without further ado, I'm going to turn these lights off, move the camera up here for you guys, and let's get this reaction on the road and in the bag, shall we? Okay, here we go.
I live in a small neighborhood,
Okay.
about 20 miles outside the nearest town in central Washington state. It's kind of like a German town. I moved here just after finishing middle school, around 2 years ago. Some neighbors aren't friendly, and some are just weird. But there's one person that really gives me the creeps and makes me want to close my eyes whenever I see him. This happened in the middle of July, I think, in 2015. I remember my dad and I were fixing a small trampoline outside for my little brother. Then, this guy comes up our long driveway, just staring at my dad with a blank look. He walks right up and asks if we need any help. My dad says no, but before he can say more, the man asks, "Do you want to see my scars?"
Okay, first of all, I do agree having neighbors that spy on you and see what you're doing on your property is kind of weird. But if you have somebody that just walks up on your driveway and says, "You want to see my scars?" I'll be like, "No, dude, back away and get off my property. You're freaking me and my son out." Sounds like this person needs to be in a mental asylum thus far. Well, let's just see what else happens, shall we?
Surprised, my dad nervously says, okay. Without waiting, the man lifts his shirt, showing lots of scars on his chest. My dad told the man to put his shirt back on and go away. The man did what my dad said, but he made a weird sound as he stepped back. "See you both later," he said with a creepy smile. We were both guys, which made it even weirder. It wasn't until November of 2016 that I had once again encountered the creep. Let me describe him to you. He had brown hair and a small brown mustache, plus a scar on his upper lip. He was a big guy, about 6'5", and weighed around 260 pounds.
Okay, from that description, it sounds like this dude might have been a tough SOB that been into a lot of fights and people scarred him up with a bunch of bladed weapons, probably. But still, he's completely out of his mind. And when he said, "See you later," I'll be like, "No, you're not. You stay off my property." But I'll be also calling the cops just to tell them what this guy did, because it's really creepy sounding.
He looked like he was in his mid to late 40s. Seeing him again was pretty intimidating. On this day, I was driving around in my golf cart. When I turned toward my house, I saw him about 100 feet away. As I got closer, he stared at me with a cold and serious look on his face. I quickly looked away and didn't glance back because I felt he was still staring. I didn't see that guy often, but whenever I did, I felt a bit nervous and got a chill down my spine. My family calls him the Vaseline Man because he looks shiny when he takes his shirt off. Lately, he went from being weird and creepy to really scary. It was around midnight, and I was staying up late, watching movies and stuff. Then I heard a loud thud at my window. I got scared and jumped back on my bed. Then after a few seconds, I thought it might be a bird or something. I peeked out, but I couldn't see anything, so I decided to go back to my movie.
Oh, I guarantee you it's not no bird. It's the quote-unquote Vaseline Man. I can't believe they nicknamed him that. But thank God they didn't call him the Baby Oil Man. That would have been weird.
About 5 minutes later, there's another loud thud at my window, even louder this time. I try to ignore it and go back to watching my movie. But then, there's another thud, and another. Getting annoyed, I quickly go to the window and open the shades. Now guess who's there? It's Vaseline Man,
Oh, heck
really
no.
angry and staring at me. I show him my middle finger and go outside to talk to him. He didn't move at all from the window and kept staring at me like he could see into my soul. I yelled at him, telling him to leave or I'd call the police. But his look was something else, like the face a disappointed kid makes when they can't have a toy or a video game. It was really weird, especially coming from a big, middle-aged man like him. I heard him say this from outside the window. "I'm gonna get you one day." Right after that, he turned around and walked into the nearby woods. Now, thinking about it, I should have called the police, but I was scared it would cause a big problem. I have no clue what he's up to or what he wants from me, but I guess only time will tell.
Man, I would have not stalled on calling the cops. Once he left, call him. Then they probably would have found him and arrested him. Because he said, "I'm going to get you one day." That sounds like he's a dangerous person that might be kidnapping people. You never know. I'm just glad that this person didn't have to deal with him assaulting him and having trauma from that. So let's get on to story number 2, shall we?
At the age of 21, I moved in with my cousin in a house nestled deep in the woods.
Okay.
Our home was in a place called Van Leer, situated between Dixon and Erin, Tennessee, surrounded by dense forests, and living there meant being a good 45 minutes away from the nearest city. It's like the smallest town you've ever seen. Picture this. You can zip through the whole place in just 2 minutes and wave hi to all 12 local shops. Beyond that, it's mostly farms, breaking up the big patches of woods in between. Oh, and there's this random gas station stuck right in the middle of a fork in the road, pointing towards where I live. Sometimes you'll catch a glimpse of cows or horses grazing in the fields. It's a quiet place, with only a few people buzzing around. Everyone knows everyone else.
To be honest with you, that don't seem like a bad place to live in. I know you'll probably get bored after some time and you want to go enjoy some out of town entertainment or shopping experiences. But hey, you live in a place like that, it's basically a country man's paradise.
I moved in with my cousin in November of 2011, a week before my birthday. Sometimes we had parties, but most days we just did our own thing when we weren't working, playing video games and watching movies together. The house was made by the people who lived there before us, and they let us stay for only $250 a month. That was just enough to cover the taxes on the house each year. The house had 3 bedrooms. The main bedroom was downstairs next to the living room. There was also the back room, which used to be an open porch before they put up full walls.
Oh, wow.
Upstairs was the loft where I slept. All the bedrooms and bathrooms were on one side of the house, and on the other side, there was the kitchen and living area.
So far, the layout he's describing would sound like a comfortable place to live in, but I'm still not a huge fan of like covering up a whole porch with more walls, unless you try to make it a enclosed back porch. That I don't mind, but turning it into like more bedroom space, I'll be like, oh, come on. That's just me, though.
We hung out a lot in the living room with our TVs and game systems. They were all on a 12-foot wall between the doors, so there wouldn't be any glare from the windows. We also had our meals in the living area. This brings me to one of my tasks. I had to take out the kitchen scraps and dump them at the edge of the woods,
Right.
about half a football field away from the front porch. And I did this almost every day for many months after moving in, because it meant I didn't have to wash the dishes. When I went out to dump the scraps, I got used to seeing raccoons, possums, deer, rabbits, and sometimes even foxes or coyotes. At first, the coyotes made me a bit nervous because all I could see were their eyes, or I'd hear sniffing and panting while walking to the dumping spot. Nothing ever really bothered me, you know. They all knew that once I dropped the food and walked away, it was free for them to grab. But in September 2012, I started having a new visitor who showed up regularly, and this one was way bigger than any coyote or dog I knew. I went out like always to toss out the scraps from dinner that night. but it was strangely quiet. No coyotes howling, no raccoons or possums making their usual sounds. As I walked, I felt the hairs on my arms stand up, but I figured it was just because it was getting colder. And maybe that's why there were fewer animals around. But when I got to the dumping spot and poured out the scraps, something really big growled at me, and I could feel it deep in my bones. So I quickly finished scraping out the pot and slowly stepped back from the line of trees. I noticed a pair of yellowish eyes reflecting a little to the left of where I dumped the scraps. I kept staring at it as I moved backward, never taking my eyes off the creature.
Holy Toledo. Don't tell me you're looking at a Bigfoot right now. I mean, come on. Tall, yellowish eyes, growling in the woods. That automatically tells you that's a Bigfoot. They're probably mad that you're dumping very little food for him to enjoy. But I hope you didn't accidentally pour the food on his foot. That could be a reason why he could be mad too. You never know. But at this point, I'll be like hurrying up and backing up quick and run back to the house and lock everything before this creature grabs you.
When I got inside, I told my cousin that there was a big animal out there tonight. I suggested we keep the porch light on to watch it in case it comes too close to the house. The rest of the night was quiet, but after that, whenever I took out the scraps, that creature would be there, waiting for me to drop the food and step back. Its growl always gave me the chills. I never saw more than its eyes, and after about a month, it stopped growling when I came out, even though I could still see it watching me from the woods. Fast forward to December. The ground was all covered in snow, and it got really cold. I kept giving food to that creature thing, even when Christmas came around. Then me and my cousin went to stay with family for the holidays, and we were away for about a week. When we came back, we had lots of extra food. After bringing everything inside and getting comfortable, my cousin fell asleep on the couch in the living room, and I went to bed in my room upstairs. That night, I woke up feeling thirsty and went downstairs to get some water. As I was going down the stairs, I heard a little thumping noise from downstairs. Peeking over the railing and seeing my cousin still asleep on the couch, I thought maybe something was on the porch. Sometimes raccoons or turkeys would show up. But when I looked through the big glass doors, I didn't see anything. It was really cold, like 7 degrees, so I didn't open the doors. I went into the kitchen while still keeping an eye on the doors in the living room. That's when I saw something, a head like a big dog poking around the side of the door. The head was really big, and it started sniffing against the glass door.
Oh, crap. It ain't a Bigfoot. It's a dog man. You better not let that creature see you, or else it's going to howl really loud and wake your cousin up, or try to force his way in the house. Maybe wants more food, too. I don't know. But that would be creepy.
I got a little scared when I saw it, but then I thought it was just a really big dog, maybe the one I'd been giving food to for the past few months, so I started to feel more relaxed. Remembering I was away for a week, I thought that the thing might be hungry, so I took some turkey from the fridge, planning to throw it out the kitchen door onto the porch for it to eat. But when I turned back from the fridge and looked at the door, I froze. At first, when I saw its head, it was about 3 feet off the ground, but now I was looking up at the creature's face. It was standing on 2 legs, way taller than me. It had to bend down to look through the door. I'm 6 feet tall, and my cousin is 6'5". His head just about touches the top of his door frame, so this creature was easily 7 feet tall. I was shocked and couldn't move, really scared. What scared me even more was that the thing reached for the door handle to the sliding glass door and started pulling on it. My heart was beating fast, and I heard the frame hitting against the door lock. But good thing we hadn't unlocked them since we got home. Right then, my cousin started waking up. He rolled off the couch, still half asleep, and walked towards the bathroom. That's when he saw me standing frozen in front of the glass door near the kitchen. He was about to say something when he noticed the dark figure at our door. The creature looked at him and growled. My eyes went back and forth between the two before I stepped closer to the kitchen door. My cousin, stuck in one spot, was really scared by what he saw. I grabbed the kitchen door handle and unlocked it. My cousin, barely making a sound, asked me in a whisper what on earth I was doing. I yanked the door open and quickly tossed the plate of turkey outside, then slammed the door and locked it. The creature saw the food flying towards the yard, gave me one more look, and leaped off the porch to get the food. My cousin grabbed me and took me upstairs to the loft bedroom, which had a strong door. We stayed in that room all night, listening for any sounds. After a few minutes, we could hear it trying the door again, sniffing its nose against the window. It tapped on the window for a few minutes when it found out the door wouldn't open. Eventually, it went away and vanished into the woods. The next morning, I took the scraps out, but I was too scared to go all the way to the woods. Even though this werewolf thing didn't really act mean to us, I was too scared to go outside at night after that. Sometimes we'd see something in the yard at night, usually close to where I threw the scraps. Each time we spotted it, we'd turn off the TVs and lights and watch until it went back into the woods. Even though we don't know exactly what it is, but having something like this around as a neighbor is both fascinating and scary.
You got that right. After seeing that, I'd be like, okay, I don't know if I can handle this anymore. Time to pack up and move. Or if it shows up on your property and you're on your porch, make sure you have like a gun and shoot it up in the air to see what it do. Will it run away or will it charge? Because if it charges, then you can say, well, I warned you. But yeah, it must have came in through the deepest parts of the woods, seeing you feeding the other critters. But once they came in, all the other critters just left. But thank God you did not even stay near the woods to keep looking at that thing, because I know that dog man probably would have grabbed you and you wouldn't be here telling the story. Oh, that's spooky. Giving me chills up my spine, knowing that this person came face to face with a monster.
I'm 15 years old, and my family and I just moved into a new house. While we were unpacking, I noticed our neighbors watching us from their homes. Following my family's advice to be kind, I waved to greet them. However, I felt nervous when I saw a man in his 30s staring at me, and when he noticed me waving, his grin grew wide, making me uncomfortable. I went inside and checked out our new house. It was huge. When I got to my room, I noticed it had a pretty good view of the front yard. The only thing was, people outside could see into my room too. My mom didn't like that, but I kept arguing with her until she let me keep that room. Since it was summer vacation, my mom kept bugging me to come outside and play baseball, as she really wanted me to enjoy the nice weather and make new friends in the neighborhood.
Yeah, because you definitely don't want people taking your shut-ins. Enjoy the weather, and if you see some other kids in the neighborhood, introduce yourself and play with them. But yeah, I'd be freaked out too if the room that you chose was like facing out towards the front yard and everybody could like look right in. I mean, if I was in that room, I'd be making sure the blinds are closed.
So I grabbed my baseball stuff and went outside to play with my brothers and dad. When I glanced at the apartments across the road, I saw the guy from before. He seemed a little creepy, but he was all by himself. I asked my dad if it was okay to invite him to play with us. My dad, who tends to trust people easily, said, "Go ahead." So I crossed the street and walked up to the guy. I asked him what his name was, and he said it was Austin. I asked Austin if he wanted to join our baseball game, and he said, "Sure, as long as you're playing." We had a good time playing together. When the game finished, Austin went back to his place across the street, waving and smiling at me. The next day, my parents and brothers went out to pack more stuff. Since I didn't feel like going, I stayed home alone, and I decided to unpack some things in my room. At one point, I remembered that I forgot to lock the door, like my mom told me. As I was heading to the living room, I heard the front door open and close. I thought it might be my mom or dad, so I was about to call their names, but a weird feeling made me stop.
No, because I guarantee it's not your mom and dad. And if you called out, whoever opened up that door would know where you're at. It's best just to hide somewhere and look around the corner to see who it was. And if you don't know the person, call the cops.
I stayed quiet and sneaked my way to the corner, peeking into the living room. To my surprise, it wasn't Mom or Dad. It was Austin. He had come inside and locked the door behind him. As soon as I noticed that, I got scared and ran straight into my room. I hid inside my closet, but I could hear his footsteps getting closer. He came into my room, opened the drawers of my dresser, and started searching. Then, he left the room and went back down the hallway. I peeked out of the closet and saw all my underwear scattered on the floor. I walked quietly behind him in the hallway, hoping he wouldn't see me. I really wished he would just go to another room. He turned and opened the bathroom door, and I wasn't sure what he was searching for in there. As soon as the hallway was clear, I didn't waste any time. I sprinted as fast as I could through the front door. And then I quickly ran to the neighbor's house nearby. I was so scared. When I got there, I started crying and told them everything. They were really nice and called the police right away. They kept me inside until the police arrived. The police looked around, but they couldn't find Austin. Since that day, I haven't seen him again.
Figured Austin probably heard the door unlocked downstairs and he probably knew that you were going to be running to get some help. So he made a quick dash out of the house. But I'll be wondering what is he looking for too, because that's kind of weird that he went into his room and just pulled all of his underwear out and threw it on the floor. And then started looking in the bathroom. I'll be like, is he trying to look for some valuables to steal or what? But me personally, I would have been grabbing the home phone, call the cops right there, and tell them that you're going to the neighbor's house, and then hang up the phone and get out. Because then the cops would have been there and be like able to arrest Austin that quick.
When I was about 10 years old, we lived next to a lady who was a bit strange. She had long black hair and really pale skin. She didn't come out of her house much, so we called her the Vampire Lady. We didn't know her name because she was so quiet. But whenever someone walked by her house, she would always stare at them. The lady's house always looked dark inside, even at night. And sometimes, my mom or brothers saw strange things happening there. We weren't sure what was going on. We just noticed weird lights flickering, like in a horror movie about Frankenstein. One night, my friend Jess came for a sleepover. I told Jess about the weird lady across the street. Jess thought it would be a good idea to go see what was happening in the house when everyone else was asleep.
I don't know if you want to do that, because imagine if you were sneaking around and she opened up the blinds and saw you. That would be adrenaline rush and scariness for sure. I mean, she's probably got the TV on and the TV's got flashing colors on the screen, so, or maybe some weird lava lamps. I don't know. But that would be crazy to see.
I didn't really want to, but I said yes. I knew we had to be super quiet because my mom wakes up easily. She wouldn't let me go out in the dark at my age. Somehow, we sneaked outside without making any noise. Now we just had to cross the street to get to the house. Jess tried to look inside through the windows, and as soon as she did, she grabbed my arm. "Come on, let's go now," she said quietly but firmly. "What? We just got here. What's wrong?" I asked as she pulled me, running back across the street. She didn't tell me what she saw until we were back inside the house. Once she locked the door, she said that when she looked through the window, she saw something that looked like a video camera with a small blinking light. I said we should just go to bed and talk about it in the morning. I wish I could say that's where the story ended, but it didn't. Around 3 in the morning, Jess and I were still trying to sleep when suddenly Jess started screaming. I had a bunk bed, so I climbed up to see what was happening. That's when I saw the camera lens from earlier, now looking into our bedroom window. My mom and brothers rushed into my room with the lights on, which must have scared the person with the camera. So I told my mom that someone was looking inside. My mom grabbed a bat from my brother's room and went outside, looking around for a few minutes. When she came back, my mom asked us what the person looked like. Jess and I could only describe the camera lens. We didn't see the person, but in our hearts, we felt it was the lady from across the street, even though we didn't have any proof. My mom was a bit mad that we waited until the morning to tell her how we knew it was the woman. Since then, we weren't allowed near her house, and I still sometimes have bad dreams about what happened.
Okay, I would have told the mom once you guys got back in the house, because then she could stay up a little bit and see if anybody came up on the property with a camera. But I figure that creepy old vampire lady neighbor just likes to spy on everybody in the neighborhood, it seems like. But it'd be messed up if she sells any videotapes of these kids to illegal websites or anything. I mean, I would have been calling the cops and having her arrested. And if they find the video camera in there, it'd be like, boom, further evidence to put her away. But do like your mom says, don't you dare go back over to the house.
A few years ago, I traveled solo backpacking in France, a 21-year-old female. I took a day trip to Versailles from Paris. To go there and come back, I had to use 2 different trains. But unfortunately, when I was returning from Versailles, my phone battery was very low, only around 3%.
Yeah, and that's a bummer too, because if you're traveling, you got to find somewhere that has an electrical outlet. But I know back in over them countries in Europe, their electric plug-in areas are different than ours. So you always have to bring like some sort of adapter. But if you're on a subway train, you definitely are not going to be charging it anytime soon.
So I put my phone on airplane mode and low power. I had my headphones on, even though I wasn't listening to anything. A random guy, let's call him John, came and sat next to me. I had been walking in the gardens all day and didn't feel like talking to anyone. So I pretended I didn't understand French. John then took out his phone and used Google Translate, asking if I wanted to learn French. I replied with a simple, "No, thank you," and tried to put my headphones back on to make it clear I wasn't up for chatting. However, he kept asking me questions through his phone. The next thing he asked was, "Where are you sleeping?" I didn't feel comfortable sharing my real plans, so I fibbed and told him I was staying in a large hotel with my family and that I was on my way back to them. He wanted to know where I was going, and all I told him was, Paris. Then he asked if I was getting off at a specific subway stop, and I lied again, saying yes. He suggested he'd come along with me. I didn't feel comfortable with that, so I firmly said no and cut the conversation short.
Yeah, automatically that would tell me that that person is one of those people that won't accept no for an answer. They're creepy stalker type people. At this point, I would have been gotten up from the seat next to him and move away and see if you can like whisper French to somebody else to tell him not to let that person hear you, because he's bad news.
To avoid further interaction, I quickly put my headphones on, signaling that I wanted to be left alone. Ignoring him completely, he eventually got the message and left me alone for a couple of minutes. After that, he answered a call on his phone and told his friend, "Yeah, I'll get off at X stop, and you go to Y stop." This made me really nervous because Y stop was exactly where I intended to get off. When we reached the transfer station, he stood up, left the train, and positioned himself by the doors, waiting for me. I took a long time to stand up, making sure I had all my things, and I did it in a way that was kind of annoying on purpose. After that guy left to catch the other train, I took my time getting off and onto the next train. I moved really slowly. I got on the train right at the front, and I kept an eye on everyone around me to make sure no one was acting strange or watching me too much. I probably seemed a bit strange to them because of how cautious I was being. When I reached X stop and kept an eye on the people getting off and on the train, and anyone on the platform, I didn't see him or anyone looking at me too much. When we got to Y stop, I got off with the crowd, turned the corner, and there he was with 4 friends, checking out everyone who was coming out. So I quickly turned around and went the opposite way. I let my hair down from its bun and tried to look different. Once I got off the train, I ran back to my hostel. I stayed there and only went out if one of my roommates was with me.
Talk about a quick dodge of a bad situation. But I figured that that guy was probably targeting certain women on them trains just to see if they can like try to lure them with them, and their friends would grab onto them and then they can kidnap them for ransom, or I hate to say it, probably sex traffic them. You never know. She did the right thing in trying to ignore him altogether and trying to hide from this dude or anybody that was looking at her weirdly. But I'm just glad she got out of there without them guys seeing her, and she made it back to where she was staying at. All right. But yes, always go with somebody that you know, because then they can like back you up in situations like this, and the other people will know not to mess with you.
My first job was at a tiny pizza place in the town where I grew up.
Okay.
It's a really small town, with just a bit over 1,000 people. We're located right next to a main highway, and it takes about 30 minutes to get to a big city from there. One evening, around September or October, I was working with 2 other coworkers and our manager. The whole shift had been pretty slow, not many customers. We were just wrapping up and getting ready to close up shop at 9 p.m. when 2 men and a little girl, about 7 or 8 years old, walked into the pizza place. I walked up to the front and asked if they needed any help or if they were planning to order something. The shorter man, one of the 2, mentioned they were just passing through. Then he started asking about the prices of different items on the menu, and he also asks what time we close. So I tell him, and he just says okay, and heads over to sit down with the little girl at a booth. The taller man steps outside and goes to their car parked in front of the pizza place. From where I'm standing, I can see him looking around as if checking something. Meanwhile, inside the little girl seems excited, pointing at the pictures on the menu. About 5 minutes later, the smaller man gets up, leans down to whisper something to the little girl, and then heads towards the exit. My coworkers and I are just watching everything and talking about how strange it seems. Then, the little girl starts dancing around to the music playing on the radio. After a couple of minutes of her dance, I walk up to her and ask if she's hungry, or if she wants something to drink. She says she just wants water. So I grab a cup, fill it with water, and hand it to her. She takes the water back to her seat at the booth and sits down. I go up to her and ask, "Who are you waiting for?" She smiles and says, "My dad." My coworkers and I exchange concerned glances because the 2 men haven't returned, and it's now 9:20 p.m. We're starting to wonder if neither of them is really her dad. My manager, noticing our worry, decides it's time to take action.
Because it just seems like these people probably kidnapped her and she don't even know it. They probably told her that they're friends of her dad or something. Let's just see how they resolve this.
She picks up the phone and calls the police to let them know about the situation. Our town is too small for its own police station, so we have to wait for them to come from the next town, which takes at least 15 minutes. I go over to sit with her at the booth. I'm just chatting with her, making sure she's okay, and nothing goes wrong before the cops arrive. While we're talking, she suddenly stands up and says she has to go. My manager and I try to tell her she has to stay in the restaurant until her dad comes back, but she starts crying and yelling and really wants to leave. Later, my manager told me the police found her walking alone down the road that night. We didn't hear anything more about what happened after that. I just hope she's safe.
No, I would have been standing my ground and telling that girl, look, those guys abandoned you. So please come clean with me. Are they really your dad and his friend? Or who are they? Because it's just sad and heartbreaking that she would just get up and start to run looking for him. Because if that really was her dad, it just seems like he was trying to get rid of her. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications for more Unfold Diaries content like this. This has been another successful installment of the Tin Man Score channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and I said that's a wrap. Have a nice day, y'all.